As all kids do once in their lives, they come to have an obsession with some form of media that sticks with them forever. Whether it's a cartoon, a movie, a sport, a book, or literally anything. Because they leave an impression on young minds and become a part of who they are. Even if it's the most nonsensical thing in the world. That, for me, was SpongeBob SquarePants. I watched this show so much as a kid, he was practically a part of my family, my second dad. Trust me, there was a point in time when I watched every single episode more than once. I had a huge DVD collection, Burger King toys, some of the video games, my room was SpongeBob, my teeth were like SpongeBob's, my sneakers were SpongeBob. It was a problem. But that love didn't last forever. As I said before, I watched literally every episode dozens of times, so of course I was gonna get burnt out eventually, and by that point, I started gaining new interests. Different movies, different video games, different shows, and almost dying while making Sonic videos. However, while I was reaching 21 years old, the franchise was still holding out strong. A new movie came out, a new video game came out, the show is still going. How many things am I gonna list? And for once, I want to partake again for old time's sake. So I decided to say goodbye to my childhood and come to good terms with my past obsession by watching every single SpongeBob movie leading up to the latest one. Do my favorites hold up? Did the newer ones do SpongeBob justice? Will I feel happy again? Well, we'll find out soon enough. This is my ranking of every single SpongeBob movie, and I warn you, I'm not just a kid anymore, so I will go hard on these things no matter how much it offends you. Because I'm a big guy now.
Big guy, big guy, SpongeBob, big guy.
This may not surprise anyone who knows about SpongeBob movies. Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, is one of the worst films I've ever seen. And I genuinely mean, ever seen. The animation was horrible. Almost everything in it looks bad. I've never seen a modern film so terribly blend cartoon characters into the real world before. And some characters in general are awfully designed, both in looks and movements. I mean, Mr. Krabs was literally an eyesore to look at. Generic kids movies tropes are present too, with the whole crazy, goofy, kick-ass family, along with the family is important message shtick, which is delivered without any heart, because it's just like any other movie you've seen before, without any nuance, and with the most pathetic attempts at trying to make you care. I mean, this whole family is just so bland and generic, to the point it annoys me and I can't take them seriously whatsoever. The same can be said for the music. Yep, Saving Bikini Bottom is a musical with the world's worst music in it.
You can bet your bikini bottom dollar it's great, boy. So for the Lone Star State, so let's
The human characters in this movie were not enjoyable at all either, especially the villain, who looks like Black Bailey. She was insufferable with her outrageously immature character, who is both super annoying along with the other stupid scientists, and is the main culprit for making this movie feel like it was meant for preschoolers instead of SpongeBob's true demographic, 7 to 10-year-olds. It can't be argued as made for anyone, but hell, this movie sure isn't.
I'm doing something great and beautiful thanks to your scientific research, Cheeks.
I'm too old for this.
A lot of the jokes and humor were uninspired too, aimed at the lowest hanging fruits, giving us stuff that makes even Peppa Pig look more intelligent. I didn't care about the story or any character in this movie, and logic was completely thrown out the window at times. One problem my friend and I noticed was that Sandy claims to be using science all the time, but on screen, you mostly see random equations that have no correlation to what's happening and mean jack at the same time. I think it only ever once did something that made sense. Trust me,
I went to college!
it also introduced so much new stuff, like Sandy's family, her robot horse, and that she's a flying squirrel apparently. I suspect all these things will never be brought up again. And you want to know what the worst part is? I genuinely think the movie could have been good if it had tried. The plot is about these scientists planning to clone SpongeBob and his friends so they could sell them as pets around the world. Does that not sound like a crazy idea to you? I would have loved this movie. The writers didn't wipe their ass with it by making the worst jokes, forcing the worst tropes, and using the cheapest animation that SpongeBob has ever had. Watching this movie was genuinely very difficult. My friend and I were fighting a war for our comprehension during it. Reminder, This is SpongeBob that I'm watching, the thing that defines my childhood, made me the way I am. Even when it was bad, it was never this bad. And to see this name in the credits, Kaz, someone I actually recognize from the credits of some of my favorite episodes as a kid. I'm talking Chocolate with Nuts, Wet Painters, I Had an Accident, Merman and Barnacle Boy 5. That same guy wrote this movie's script. How? Heartbreaking. A writer I actually recognized as a kid because I watched SpongeBob to an unhealthy amount back then was the main culprit for this abomination. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight. I hate this movie, and Sandy Cheeks deserves better. It's an insult to the series, it's an insult to the fans, it's an insult to anyone with a comprehending brain. It shouldn't be called the Sandy Cheeks movie. Rather, the Sandy Cheeks slander, abomination, degradation, and shit show. It was terrible through and through. Out of all the movies in this ranking, Sponge Out of Water was the one I was looking forward to rewatching the most. Not because it's my favorite, but because I look back on this one pretty fondly. It was the first SpongeBob movie I watched in the theater, and that felt like a dream come true. I was born when the first movie was in theaters, but since I was literally days old at that point, I never got the chance to experience it. And for 10 years, that was the only SpongeBob movie to exist. So when I saw the Sponge Out of Water trailer for the first time, I was insanely excited, and I couldn't believe I was finally gonna get my chance to see it in the theater, in 3D too. And ever since I saw it a few times back in the day, I have always liked this movie because of how cool it was, with the time travel, the superheroes, and all the other weird stuff like Bubbles the Dolphin. There's so much that makes it stand out, and even to this day it still does compared to what came afterwards. So I was genuinely looking forward to seeing it again after so long, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I would like it more than the original. It was fucking garbage! What the hell was I thinking?
That settles it. You are an idiot.
Granted, it's not like I thought the whole movie was bad. I was actually kind of on board with it at first, because again, I like the ideas that this movie had. Stuff like SpongeBob and Plankton teaming up to get the Krabby Patty formula back via time travel is interesting, and in general, I feel like the plot itself was more integral and less formulaic compared to the original in the first half. I don't want to spoil my thoughts on the original movie too much, but I feel like there was one single factor that carried it to be as great as it is. It was very reliant on humor.
What?
It was funny throughout the whole runtime, but I never felt invested in the actual plot, at least until the emotional scene. The reason why I say that is because the plot throughout most of it felt like it only served for funny moments to happen, rather than actually trying to tell something epic. While Sponge Out of Water actually had that for the first hour, I was automatically put off by one single aspect. The humor compared to the first one felt like a detrimental downgrade. Turns out, SpongeBob the comedic cartoon is at its best when it's funny with great jokes in it, not because of Tolkien level storytelling. When I demanded more story from a SpongeBob movie of all things, I got one giant monkey's paw response with this film. Every joke was either lowbrow, lazy, looking for scrap humor, or just decent at best. This made the movie drag at times, and ironically, it made me a lot less invested in what was happening compared to the last film. The entire time while I was watching this, I just kept thinking about how hard I took the first movie for granted, realizing how integral it really was for SpongeBob to be funny. Without it, it's just not SpongeBob anymore. Let me be clear though, I thought this movie would at least try to be just as funny, but when you make something without prioritizing the most important aspect of your creation, you end up making something that doesn't work. Right now, I could set out to make the most cinematic video game of all time, with the best cutscenes, graphics, and music to graze your RAM sticks, but if that comes at the cost of the gameplay being super simplistic and boring, why even bother making it at that point? You're just wasting everyone's time. What makes Sponge Out of Water even more disappointing is that we're not even at the worst part yet. Throughout the first hour, I thought it was just okay, a 6 out of 10 maybe, but once all the time travel stuff into Plankton and SpongeBob bonding is over, it just becomes a completely different film for the last 30 minutes. Turns out, almost everything that happened within that period doesn't matter anymore. Thrown into the trash bin, and now the movie is about SpongeBob and friends coming out of the surface and getting the formula back by turning into marketable superheroes. The thing that was advertised most in the trailers, which made people assume that the movie would be live action throughout the majority of it. Paramount and Nickelodeon caught people with glorified fish bait back in 2015. And what's even worse is that Sponge Out of Water by this point lost all of its goodwill. Making that first hour feel like a waste made me stop caring about the film entirely, and it opened my eyes as to what this movie truly was this entire time.
And the minute we reveal them, their destruction begins! Ah!
The reason why we never got a sequel to the original for 10 years was probably because nobody had any ideas nor wanted to make one, until the execs at Paramount and Nickelodeon completely forced it. They just called the head writers and said, "Hey, if you want Gucci on your feet right now, make a live-action superhero SpongeBob movie as soon as you possibly can. The only thing you have to keep an eye on is that $75 million budget. We trust you though, because somehow you live comfortably in California with our wages. So apply that broke boy mentality onto this movie if you can. Trust me, we do not care about the quality at all. Just find a way to put superheroes in it, because the MCU is hot right now, and so is your rice soup. Chop chop." This whole section of the film felt like a glorified Super Bowl commercial with the laziest attempts at humor we've seen thus far. And the way all the action was executed also made my head feel empty, with how soulless and generic it was, and the rap battle ending with the birds. The most annoying and lame characters in the entire film just made everything end on a sour note. Probably one of the worst endings I've had to go through for an already bad movie.
Friends with this nonsense at one I demand here. You all stand no chance against my power. Don't try it. Just sit there with your flappy beak shut and be quiet.
Hold up, fish cuts. You can't insult us. The Seagull Crew. We're in no mood to hear from you. We're flying on the breeze. Party in 7 seas.
Shut the fuck up!
Sponge Out of Water was just plain trash, and not authentic SpongeBob material at all. I understand liking this movie as a kid, because this stuff was simply entertaining at a young age, but as an adult, it's unbearable. It continuously makes you question the logic of the writing, the pacing is so slow with no redeeming qualities, and it progressively gets worse as it goes on, making you feel miserable by the time it's over. No wonder my dad was pissed off on the ride home 10 years ago. Seeing Sponge Out of Water again gave me an experience like no other film has before. The realization hit way too hard, but that's probably because I came back to it as someone who critiques movies all the time. Still though, this movie sucks.
Once upon a time, there was a big fat pink idiot who went to sleep. The end!
Nice try, but it's gonna take more than that to...
As the title implies, the movie is about Plankton with him yet again getting into relationship trouble with his computer wife Karen. It all starts with Plankton failing to steal a Krabby Patty formula for the billionth time, and as that happens, Karen somehow renovated the chum bucket, and it was so successful that people were actually coming in and eating the chum. Not that it hasn't happened before, but Karen has outdone herself here. She changed the menu, the restaurant interior, and she even has plans to expand locations beyond just Bikini Bottom. But Plankton wasn't satisfied since he didn't get to steal the Krabby Patty formula.
Where's the evil, Karen? Where is the evil? I don't see it!
It's still fast food. There's the evil.
I don't care if they marry it. None of these cockamamie changes are gonna help me steal the secret formula.
And because he loves being evil so much, he just selfishly burns it all down.
We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch. It was perfect, but no, you just had to blow it up. You and your pride and your ego. You just had to be the man. If you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now.
Okay, now you're pissing off the guy who's too old for this. First of all, is this a character assassination? Shouldn't Plankton be happy that people are eating his chum? There were literally a few episodes where Plankton was just happy to beat Mr. Krabs business-wise, like in Chum Caverns for example, when he found his market by selling chum in a cave, and took away the Krusty Krab's customers, or in 2000 Patties Under the Sea, where the Krusty Krab had its own food truck, and Plankton in response made his own for the chum bucket as competition. Okay, I know he wasn't really winning in that one, but it proves a point. It was never just about the Krabby Patties that Plankton cares about. Yes, he's clearly obsessed with them, but the reason why he's truly evil is because of his rivalry, competitiveness, and pettiness against Mr. Krabs. If you watch almost any episode of the show featuring Plankton, his goal was always to beat Mr. Krabs no matter the circumstances. Obtaining the formula was just an easy and obvious approach. The same way Mr. Beast tries to entertain you by giving away money instead of actually having a personality. So if people were actually eating chum from the chum bucket, Plankton would join Karen and try beating the Krusty Krab in business like they did before. But no. All of a sudden, in this movie, all that matters is just getting the formula because Plankton could take over the world with it instead of beating Mr. Krabs as the cartoon showed us millions of times. Who could have possibly misunderstood this character so hard while writing the script? Well, Mr. Lawrence himself, apparently. To be more specific, the guy who's been the voice actor for Plankton since the very beginning. He was a part of all these episodes, including the ones I mentioned, yet somehow he was able to write his own character less faithfully than I did with Hitpig in my own movie. Then again, I was under a lot more pressure with a very passionate community ready to kill me. But come on, Mr. Lawrence should have done way better than this with 20 plus years under his belt reading the damn dialogue.
Whoa. Some guys cut the cheese, but you, brother, you destroy the cheese.
Putting that aside, because of Plankton burning it all down, Karen evolves into a computer hydra straight from Glitch Productions, and she needs to be stopped, while SpongeBob, on the other hand, helps Plankton become a better husband. We also get to see how Plankton made Karen for the first time with a bunch of flashback scenes. Karen is split into multiple personalities, destroying Bikini Bottom with all the fish folk trying to defend themselves. Plankton is going through therapy. Karen's friend group consisting of Pearl, Mrs. Puff, and Sandy tag along. Plankton goes back to college to find his old stuff to build a new Karen. That same Karen joins the other Karens to get revenge on Plankton. I didn't even go through everything yet, but that proves another issue. This plot just has way too much crap going on, all in one 90-minute movie. It was bloated, and it made the pacing drag like crazy. Sure, there are some things that I liked about the movie, like a few good jokes from SpongeBob himself. The animation is noticeably better than the Sandy Cheeks movie. There are a ton of crazy 2D animated segments that look trippy. Some of the new lore additions were cool, but despite all of the positives, this movie still suffers from being bloated. So much so that while watching the film, I felt like I was just consuming information rather than actually being invested or entertained. The same feeling you get when you force food down your throat despite being full. It was Netflix content in its truest form. It's watchable, but not enticing at all. The music was also horrible. A lot of the songs in this movie felt like parodies of Living Tombstone songs and rejected Has-Been Hotel musical numbers, especially with how horrible the lyrics and performances were for some.
Now's the time I'm gonna take control. Let the devastation roll. It's over, Plankton. I don't need your tiny hands and your never-ending failed plans. You thought you were so devious, but it's me. I'm the real evil genius.
Jesus fucking Christ! I didn't know they allowed retards into Schaefer. Am I to understand that you cannot read tempo? Can you even fucking read music?
Another aspect that completely annoys me is that I am sick of Plankton and his crap. Listen, I liked him in the past. He's a classic character, but he's been overused in these movies. Literally, in every single film leading up to this, he tries to steal the Krabby Patty formula. 3 out of the 4 movies prior set up their whole plot from it. Was it really necessary to do it again to go 4 out of 5? Do the writers even know that other things happen in SpongeBob? Like, I don't know, SpongeBob and Patrick going jellyfishing, SpongeBob and Patrick messing with Squidward, the Krusty crew running into issues. There's so much material to grab for a SpongeBob movie, but for over the past 20 years of opportunities, the writers always resort to Plankton stealing the damn Krabby Patty formula again. Because of this happening repeatedly, I did not care about anything that happened in the plot, and with the amount of stuff going on in it, it just felt like it took forever to get to the end. The humor was average at best, Plankton is a tired character, and all the other issues I mentioned, like the bad music plus lame characterization, that just added on to the annoyance of watching this film. Plankton the movie isn't as soulless as Sponge Out of Water, nor as inhumane as Sandy Cheeks, but it's just content.
You're the best mechanical elevator a little green behind can have.
I need a hug.
Now, I know a lot of you are pissed off that this movie is so high in the ranking, but hear me out. like some of you, I hated this movie when I first saw it. I thought it was a lazy retread of Gary Come Home. Despite the pretty animation, I wasn't happy with SpongeBob movies transitioning to 3D.
Why did you say that then?
I thought it was boring, slow, and unfunny. The pop music and cameos were completely forced. The camcorder stuff had me angrier than I was with Squidward's security system. Even the memorial to Steven Hillenburg was offensive to me, with its insulting transition to the J Balvin SpongeBob song.
That's it?
Believe me, I was truly one of SpongeBob's biggest haters in the past few years, and I expected it to be just as terrible the second time. But to my surprise, I actually enjoyed it. Not only was the humor way better than the second movie, but even the celebrity cameos were good. Keanu Reeves was hilarious as SpongeBob's spiritual guidance. The whole El Diablo bit with Danny Trejo was enjoyable, while admittedly kinda dragged. It was still getting a laugh out of me thanks to how random it is. And the way El Diablo was taken out, that was genuinely great.
Get away from those curtains!
What, these curtains?
Oh, these are nice curtains.
Well, they are. So soft.
That's weird.
These curtains are making a strange sound.
I think the curtain rod needs some oil.
Once the rod goes, you're probably better off getting a whole new set of curtains.
I found the whole adventure between SpongeBob and Patrick to be pretty fun throughout the whole movie, and every time Keanu showed up, it made everything so much funnier. Especially when SpongeBob and Patrick completely blow at the casino, and Keanu expresses his perfectly delivered disappointment.
Nice work, boys. Way to take my pearls of wisdom and flush them down the toilet.
Oh, no. Oh, wait. Did we?
Lose focus like I told you not to?
Patrick, we gotta find Gary!
But dealing with you two makes me want to light myself on fire.
The callbacks to prior SpongeBob stuff like seeing the Patty Mobile again and Kelpie G were actually charming without feeling like a 30-year-old who peaked in high school. The animation, which I was initially upset with, has now become something I actually appreciate. I did say it was good before, but again, I found it hard to accept that the movies would all be 3D from here on out. At least until I realized that SpongeBob going 3D is actually a good thing, because it leaves the shows to have their own identity with it staying in 2D, and it takes away that feeling of the movies coming off as extra long episodes with them being in 3D now. It's high quality, there are tons of great shots that wouldn't be captured in the traditional style, and it makes all the different SpongeBob media feel organized instead of a mishmash. This is the show, this is the video game, and this is the movie. It just works. In general, I found SpongeBob on the Run to be pretty decent. While there aren't a ton of things to say about it, I really appreciated how it went back to basics with its story and actually tried being funny again. With the jokes being consistent along with some fun scenes present, watching this movie was just a relaxing experience that I found comforting. But there is a lot to say about its issues. First off, the Camp Crow scenes still suck and are a huge problem. They still come off as forced every time they appear, slowing down all of the film's momentum, especially in the scene where every character had to tell their origins of how they met SpongeBob in the summer camp, one by one, with a crappy song at the end. The Camp Coral flashback scenes entirely just piss me off because they don't fit the movie that they're in, at least enough to make it obvious that they're only there to advertise a SpongeBob spinoff that nobody watched. And even if the show didn't exist, they would still suck because they tried so hard to make the audience ooh and ah with its performative cuteness, still coming off as forced.
I don't have any friends.
Well, you've got one now.
Really? Who is it?
It's me!
You mean it?
Of course. Come on.
I'm going to kill each and every one of you. And the only disappointment in it for me is that I only get to do it once.
And while I did find SpongeBob on the Run chill to watch, it was a bit too chill at times, because the pacing made some of the story and jokes not land as well as they should, and the plot does feel like a bunch of old episodes combined into one, borrowing off of Atlantis Square Pantis, Whatever Happened to SpongeBob, Gary Come Home, and the first movie with the whole you gotta be brave thing and a powerful god figure being the villain once again. It's kind of lazy and it made the plot predictable to any big fan of the show. Those things aside, I was genuinely shocked by how much I liked SpongeBob Run on my second watch, especially with it beating all these other films. I even like the J Balvin song now. It's a basic film that doesn't do much to deteriorate SpongeBob to a horrible extent, and it actually has some good humor to offer. Yes, the camcorder stuff is still there, but come on. Compared to the movies below it, those were way more problematic, downright ruining characters, bait switching, and actually being terrible in almost every aspect. SpongeBob is funnier than all of them, and ironically resembles the show more than those did in comparison. And to add extra salt on the wound, don't even bother summoning Steven to trash on it, cause he was part of this too, including the Camp Crow show that nobody watched. You're not gonna be a righteous do-gooder by going on the comment section, slandering his work, and tell me that the second movie was better. Like, no. Sponge Out of Water is more executive trash than Sponge on a Run ever will be. And if it's been a while since the last time any of you guys saw it, go rewatch about the pre-bias, and you might be surprised. Memories as a little child was when I went to Walmart with my dad around 3 or 4 years old, and I saw the SpongeBob movie DVD on the shelf. I brought it home with me that day, and I have watched it hundreds and thousands of times ever since then. Enough times to remember all of the dialogue, so much so that I got sick of it and put it away for years, only to come back at 21 years old, haven't seen it in maybe half a decade, and I was still able to recite the first 20 minutes, and I had my friends tell me to stop continuing.
Word for word, bar for bar!
I lost my childhood copy somewhere in my grandpa's house, but I bought another one on eBay just to put it in my personal SpongeBob collection, along with my real childhood SpongeBob plush, cause it means that much to me. You can tell by now that this was my all-time favorite movie as a kid. But how does it hold up as a miserable man-child critic? Well, it's still pretty great. The main reason why I don't like going back to SpongeBob as I get older is that I've watched it all so many times, including this movie. It's a been there, done that kind of thing. But this time, the SpongeBob movie was still able to stand on its own 3 feet, making me laugh the millionth time. The humor offers that classic, authentic SpongeBob writing from beginning to end. Tons of hilarious gags, crazy randomness, great slapstick, the whole 9 yards. The adventure SpongeBob and Patrick go on is a ton of fun with actually great songs like Now That We're Men and Goofy Goober Rock. And the best part about watching this movie as an adult is that sense you get of the writers having fun with this movie, but trying to stop themselves from going too far at the same time. Like, this could have been an adult animated film if it wanted to, with this acid trip of an adventure. I mean, SpongeBob gets drunk and has a hangover from ice cream. SpongeBob and Patrick ride David Hasselhoff and launch out of his chest. SpongeBob and Patrick are surrounded by fish corpses constantly. They were taken by an evil salesman who grabbed them from the ocean to sell them in a store as taxidermy souvenirs. I mean, just imagine what had to be cut from the final script.
Does anyone have any fresh ideas?
Okay, how about top of the World Trade Center, morning of September 11th?
Another thing that I'll always commend this movie for is its heart. That scene in Shell City where SpongeBob and Patrick died together singing the Goofy Goober song used to make me cry every time as a kid. And even to this day I still feel some chills whenever that scene appears. Not crying, but seeing my childhood icons die in such a way, being proud for what they did and singing till they die is still powerful. The whole message too, about embracing who you are, using SpongeBob as a tool for that is a great way to convey the message, and it was probably effective enough to make me who I am today, someone who doesn't care about what others think of me, and takes showers. There isn't much else to say about the SpongeBob SquarePants movie because it's so iconic that everyone already knows about it. It was a great time from beginning to end, heavily rewatchable, and it'll always be something that I care about emotionally.
You done good, Hasselhoff. You done. Ow.
Despite all that though, I don't want to come back to this movie at least until I have my own kid, because I just simply watched it too many times. And with every other movie not even coming close to capturing how good this one was, I honestly thought it would be impossible to enjoy SpongeBob the same way I did all of those years ago, ever again. This was the peak of the movies, and the show just doesn't do it for me anymore. From the looks of it, it all goes downhill from here. At least until there is a light. Something new and fresh, but at the same time, bringing back a feeling I haven't felt in so long. All of a sudden, it's back. Yes, you are seeing this correctly. Search for SquarePants is my favorite movie in the ranking. I loved it. And trust me, I didn't expect this at all. I didn't even write my segment for the original film until I watched and finished writing segments for all the others, because I assumed it would be the best one and I would get to glaze what it did better amongst the rest. It's classic SpongeBob, for God's sakes. Somehow though, Search for SquarePants, the movie that looked mid to me at first, was able to give me exactly what I wanted for years. New material that made me feel like a kid again watching SpongeBob. The love that I had for my favorite childhood cartoon came back to me and it ignited like a fire. But that's just all talk, isn't it? You want to know exactly how it could have possibly beaten a classic masterpiece.
If you refuse, the woman dies.
Well, it all started when I sensed something good from the very first act. Big Guy does play once in the beginning, and Ice Spice makes a small voice cameo, both of which are non-issues, and from here on out, the humor is hilarious. This movie had a thrill ride of jokes covering everything. Moments with SpongeBob, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward. Crazy randomness that works. Hilarious expressions that aren't forced. The Flying Dutchman and his antics. So many outrageous scenarios, and a lot of moments in general you wouldn't expect coming at all. And remember when I said I wanted a story that actually mattered? This movie was able to achieve that without compromising any other important aspects, unlike Sponge Out of Water. While it might piss off some fans because the plot right away retcons how SpongeBob meets the Flying Dutchman for the first time, at the very least it does so without coming off as an insult to older episodes like Camp Coral did. Rather, it actually fits in this narrative, and it works perfectly for this movie. The plot revolves around SpongeBob trying to be a big guy, aka a man like in the first movie, but even though it reuses the same goal as the first and third entries, the story itself feels a lot different thanks to this fun pirate underworld adventure with the Flying Dutchman, and tying it to Mr. Krabs' origins as a swashbuckler. Throughout the movie, SpongeBob goes on this dangerous adventure alongside Patrick to earn his swashbuckler license so he could be just as brave and strong as young Mr. Krabs was, without knowing he's basically making a deal with the devil, and it's up to Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Gary to save him from losing his life. I'm not even kidding when I say this, throughout the major climaxes of the story, I somehow gave a fuck. I was following everything, and I genuinely cared about what was going to happen to SpongeBob. Sure, it's a simple plot, but the writing was able to make it feel major, especially with how high stakes the ending was. Both the humor and plot blended perfectly with one another, giving us the best of both worlds, all without ruining the pacing. And for once, Plankton is nowhere to be seen stealing the Krabby Patty formula, instead focusing on giving us the funniest moments with Mr. Krabs and Squidward.
Finally, some good food.
The animation was also something that had me worried, because compared to the third movie, it looks kind of cheap. But while watching, Search for SquarePants actually looks pretty nice, and I found myself kind of preferring it over the third one now. Yes, it's less detailed, but it's not distracting either. Sponge on a Run at times was kind of jarring to look at because of all the crazy details that are present on everything, including the characters and background objects, but Search for SquarePants, however, finds that perfect balance of not looking super cheap like the Netflix films, but not an Unreal Engine 5 test at the same time. It's comforting, and it doesn't get in the way with excessive amounts of textures. Instead, it looks like a normal cartoon, and it only tries to show off its flashiness whenever it feels necessary. I admit, it's a weird complaint, but to me, it's just the perfect middle ground, and I argue it's a more natural 3D conversion of the original cartoon. There was a lot that I think Search for SquarePants got right, but I know some of you still aren't convinced that this movie is better than the original. You're probably gonna say, the OG movie is perfect and the most iconic, it was Hillenburg's baby, I'm a barnacle head. Okay, let's see how well you can defend yourself after I pull off these Daigo parries. Here are actual reasons why Search for SquarePants is better than the original film. First off, this movie had a better adventure and story than the original. Why? I actually cared and got invested this time. Second, Mr. Krabs and Squidward had a lot of screen time and were great, while the original movie in comparison had Mr. Krabs frozen throughout the majority, Squidward was barely in it, and I have severe plankton fatigue. Third, it didn't cheap out by replacing the Flying Dutchman as the OG did to King Neptune. Sure, it was because of a rights issue, but while you watch this video, try finding a reason why I should care. And for the last point, it did the whole SpongeBob learning to accept himself arc better than the original did. While the OG does still have the most iconic scenes with the death of Goofy Goober Rock, Search for SquarePants, instead of trying to outdo those moments, goes out to challenge SpongeBob even harder as a character. Without going too much into detail in favor of avoiding spoilers, SpongeBob at a few points has to decide whether to abandon the things he loves, such as blowing bubbles and his friends, to become a man. And the whole pirate adventure in general is tied to showing SpongeBob's priorities of what he wants to become, without him realizing that he's just fine the way he is. The fact that he can even come so far with what takes place in this movie shows how much he underestimates himself, and with what's revealed by the end, kids could see themselves and learn something valuable from it. Just imagine watching this as a kid. We've all tried to grow up despite being super young, giving up things we enjoy just to be like those cool teenagers we look up to, but then we become miserable as that change occurs, wanting to go back to the things we abandoned, realizing we took them for granted, because those were the things that gave us happiness in the first place. Search for SquarePants takes that idea and uses it to its advantage, seeing SpongeBob make the harshest decisions and reward viewers by letting them see him right his wrongs makes everything more effective for the story, for SpongeBob as a character, and the kids who see themselves within him. All that to say, this movie is peak, and if you still think the original is better just because it was your childhood comfort film instead of actual good reasons, you could go ahead and yell at the clouds. Well, I enjoy my youth. I love Search for SquarePants so much, and I hope we get more movies like it if possible. I laughed hard all the way through, I became the most invested I've ever been, and it brought me back to being a passionate SpongeBob fan again.
What a baby.
That is the end of my SpongeBob movie ranking. To be honest, watching all the SpongeBob movies was a great time, even though some of them were absolute garbage. It's been so long since the last time I watched this much SpongeBob consecutively, and it all ended up being worth it with how surprising the last movie was. This whole experience proved to me that I love SpongeBob, and no other franchise could match how much this one means to me. It was my first love, and it always will be. This took a long time to finish, and I bet it was a long ride for everyone who got to this point of the video, so to all of you watching this, thank you so much for staying. I truly appreciate it, and please subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
And I got bad bitches at the crib.
Fuck you mean?
What they at, though? What they at, though?